Good morning, afternoon and evening, my crazies. My name's Angela. I'm the Crazy Poppy Lady and welcome to this week's tutorial. It may be a bit out of sync for some, it may be just in the right time for others. We will have to wait and see whether you guys like it or not. Now, today's tutorial is for this little pumpkin. Okay, now this isn't that squidgy because there's something hidden inside. It's not got stuffing, but it can be used for stuffing as well. This one here is also hiding something, and it's got a little label that says open me. So fingers crossed the recipient of this cheeky little guy actually opens the pumpkin to see what's inside and then puts some stuffing in so that it still looks really cute. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make this pumpkin today. Right, so let's go and watch the first bit of the video to find out what you need for your supply list, and then we'll move on to the rest of the video. See you in a bit. So for today's pattern, you are going to need a pumpkin coloured yarn or a dark orange, a nice shade of green that complements, okay, in whatever weight you would like to work with. Then you're going to need a crochet hook in that corresponds to the yarn weight, a pair of scissors, couple of stitch markers if you need them, and a darning needle. Nice and simple. So grab your supply list and I will see you back here in a few moments. So the yarn I've chosen to use today, because it's the only one that I had a half decent orange colour in, is the Fun Pack Mega 100% acrylic. Now this was a pack of multiple colours that I actually purchased from a Spotlight in Australia. There will be a link up here in the I button to my review of what I think of this yarn. You may sort of guess as I'm working along, but hopefully it won't tie me up in knots today. Okay, so to start with, I'm making the small pumpkin, and I will talk you now through all of the different variations of sizes that you may need to do. It is really simple to upsize this project. Okay, all you need to do is remember that for every chain you add, you're going to add another row of a row number 2 when you get to it, or maybe even double up on row 2 depending on how wide you want your project to be. Okay, so with that in mind, have you got in mind the size of the project you want? Okay, so let's get chaining. For my project today, I am going to be chaining 16. So you chain the number that you think you're going to need. Okay, and when you have your chain of minimum of 16, come back to the video and we'll work on to a row number 2. Now to work on to a row number 1. So for this one, you are going to skip the first chain from your hook and into the second chain from the hook. Place a single crochet. Then for the next 14 stitches, if you're working along with me, if not, ignore that last chain at the end. For every other chain in between, you're going to place a half double crochet. So half double crochet, is a hook over, go through your chain, hook over, pull up a loop, hook over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Again, hook over, go through your chain, hook over, pull up the loop, hook over, and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You're going to carry on doing that all the way along the row. Okay, you can either erase me or meet me at the end in a few moments. There will be a timestamp in the description box down below for your next row. But if you could leave me playing, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so we have got to nearly the end of our row. We have, or I have, 2 chains left to work. So in this chain, we are going to do a half double crochet, Well, I would if the yarn would let me. Okay, and then in that very last chain, has everybody else caught up? Beautiful. Okay, we are going to place 1 single crochet, and that is it. Okay, so if you're quite new to crochet, or you do prefer to work with stitch markers, at the end and the beginning of each row you will be marking that single crochet, and that's your first and last stitch in each row is the single crochet. Right, so and now we are going to be working onto a row 2, and this is a repeat for every single row from now on. You're going to chain 1, turn your work, place a single crochet in the top of the single crochet from the row below. Then you are going to work a back loop only, half double crochets. So set up for your half double crochet, tilt your work and find your very first, look at the V, and you poke your hook through and pop it out the back of the V. Okay, and that is how you do your half a double crochet in the back loop. There we go, I've reworded it. It's the same thing, back loop only, half double crochet, and you're going to do that all the way along, okay, until you get to that very last stitch. You should have exactly the same amount of stitches between your beginning and last your beginning and last single crochet on each row. Okay, there will be no variations in stitches. If you're counting based off your chain, it is a -1. Right, so and now I'm at the end of my row nearly. I've got that last stitch to add in, but before I do that I'm going to be counting the top of my chain. So I've got my first single crochet, then we go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 half double crochets, and then in that very last stitch, which does appear to be slightly round the corner, which is why I wanted to do the count with you to show you, you're going to place that single crochet. Now as you work this pattern, okay, the ends will be thinner than what the height of the main piece is. This is done purposely so that when we sew the base together it's a lot easier, and of course it will show you a little cute defect, not such a defect. And when it comes to adding the stem and the tie on at the top, I'll show you what I mean and when we get to the end. Right, so I'm going to leave you now to carry on going with this pattern. Well, I'll walk you through it one last time on the quick, and then I'm going to leave you to get on with it. If you are making this small one, you are going to need to do 20 rows. Okay, so a total of 20 rows. But as I said, don't worry too much about going over or being slightly under. It will just make your pumpkin a little bit chunkier or a little bit thinner. Right, so here's your row repeat. Chain 1, turn your work, place a single crochet in the first stitch, which is directly above the single crochet from the previous row. Back loop only, half double crochet, 1 in each stitch along. When you get to the end or nearing the end, that very last stitch has a single crochet placed in it. There we go. So rewind, repeat, and keep going backwards and forwards until you have either 20 rows if you're working on the small, or the desired width that you would like for the item that you are making. And then meet me back here. Okay, so I am now back with you. This is my finished section. This is as many rows as I fancy doing, and yes, I know I've got some dodgy stitch work going on here where I got confused and did the wrong stitch, so that's not half double there, that's single. But it's a pumpkin, they're not meant to be perfect. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it because I've literally only just noticed. And can you see how far back that is? I ain't ripping it. Okay, so my finished section is 20 rows with a wobbly bit, and measures in at a guesstimation of 4 3/4 inches. I think that's how you read inches, or approximately 12 centimeters long. Doesn't have to be the same size as mine. If you've got more rows or it's a bit wider or longer, doesn't matter. Right, now we are going to move on to closing this up and finishing off the pattern. Okay, so first off, come on camera, wake up. First off, we are going to chain 1, turn our work. I'm going to flip it upwards like that. You're going to take the bottom section and bring that up so it sits flush with the front. Now we're going to pop our hook through the entire first stitch where we would have placed our single crochet, and we're going to match that up with where we would have placed the single crochet on the bottom section. Slips come through and do a single crochet. Right, so and now we are going to work onto seaming this up. We are going to pop our hook through. Now remember, there are lots of different ways to seam, and you do it in the way that you feel comfortable doing, but I'm going to just cheekily pop my hook through the entire stitch on the front and the back, pull up and a slip stitch, and I'm going to do that all the way along because I am not going to be fiddling around with this one today to make sure it matches and everything. But if you are worried that the seam will show when you turn it around the right way. Okay, that is what it's looking like at the moment, so it's pretty well hidden. Okay, but you can always jump over to a different seaming up video and use your preferred method. But what we're going to do is we're just going to carry on stabbing our hook through both panels or sections of this panel until we get to the end. And on that last stitch we'll marry it up with another single crochet. Okay, so here's the last one. I've gone through both pieces of the fabric, marry it up with a single crochet. I'm going to hook over once and pull through and pull up a decent amount of yarn because you're going to use that to close this end. Okay, once you've pulled up enough, cut it off and scooch down that knot. Okay, so and now we are down at the bottom of our work, and this time we are going to be working on this edge section. Now I cheat. Okay, now this is going to be the section that is closed constantly, and what we're going to do is we are going to weave our darning needle through these little loops that were formed when we did our chain one, and we're just going to weave in and out of those. If you wish, you can go a little bit tighter by weaving down through that gap chain and then up through the next stitch, but really it depends on which method you prefer and what you're actually going to be using this item for. So there we go, and you're going to do that all the way around. If you wish, you could also make sure that when you cut off the yarn, you've got enough so that you can double strand it going round. Where are we? Up there, down and up. Oh, sorry. Can't really see what I'm doing behind this camera, you know. Okay, so once you've got back to the beginning, if you choose to, you can go round another time. I'm not going to worry, I'm just going to pull my yarn through and pull that tight. Then using my tail from right at the beginning, I'm just going to cheat and tie a knot. Put it nice and tight. Okay, at this point, of course, you can sew in your ends or just leave them. As I said, depends on what you're doing with it. And then turn your whole project round the right way. Okay, now it's time to put this to the side for a few moments because that is your completed pumpkin. It doesn't quite look like it yet, does it? But I'm going to put that one to one side, and we are going to now work on to the cord to close the top section up. Okay, so and now moving on to the section at the top, which is in green. You're going to pop a slip knot on your hook, and then you're going to chain up a 55. Now I've said 55 for the small. You may wish to add, say, 10 on for each size pumpkin that you go up, but remember that this chain length is entirely up to you. If you only want a short chain on your pumpkin, only do a short one. But as I said, a 55 for the small because it makes it easy to tie it up. So let's get chaining. Okay, so once you have your desired chain length, remember my chain is 50. You are going to turn your work and working into the back bump of your chain, you're going to place a single crochet. Okay, so to identify that back bump, it's the ridged bit. It's that simple. So we come down, we find that ridged back bump and pick it up. Hook over, pull through, hook over, pull through, and you're going to do that onto through each of these back bumps. Now this is a little bit fiddly if it's something you've not done before, and it's something very fiddly when you can't see your work because you're looking through your computer screen rather than at your hands. But take your time with it, have fun with it. Right, so once you have done the 15 single crochets into the back bump, you are then going to carry on working down your chain using a slip stitch in the back bump until you only have 15 chains left. Then you'll go back to using a single crochet in those last 15 back bumps. Right, I will meet you back here in a few moments. Oops, nearly forgot. Rotator slip stitch in the back bump. You go through your back bump, pull up your yarn and pull it straight through your stitch. Okay, so keep doing this and down your chain until you only have 15 stitches left to work, and then jump back up to a back bump single crochet. I will meet you back here in a few moments and once you have your piece done. Okay, so here we are back for the very last stitch. I'm just going to run a slip stitch there. You could do a single crochet, the choice is entirely up to you. I'm going to hook over, pull up my yarn, leaving myself enough to sew in the end, which I will do later off camera. Okay, and that is the end of this section done. Now you will notice in your pattern you've got two wider ends and then the middle bit is a bit skinnier and a lot neater than what mine is. Right, so now it's a case of putting your pumpkin together, and this is where you decide if it is going to be used as a decoration, a stuffy. If that's the case, and get yourself some stuffing to stuff in your stuffy, or if you're going to be cheeky and use it like me to hide your yarn. That's right, I use mine to hide my yarn. I am that sneaky with trying to hide my stash. I'm so bad. And it's a little 10-gram mini that I'd previously rolled up into a ball. Now this I could quite easily hang as a Christmas decoration, but I've decided to put it into here and then use the pumpkin, as you can see here, use the pumpkin as a way to hide my yarn stash. Not only that, it's also a lovely way of wrapping up a very small present for a crochet buddy. Okay, so all we're going to do now is weave one of the ends of our stem, I suppose, backwards and forwards through that gap that was created with the chain one. Okay, so each way around you'll have this hole, okay, every other row. So stick it through. You may want to actually pop it onto a bigger darning needle. I've managed to thread mine on to a wide-eyed darning needle. This actually came from one of my Centros, just the closest one to hand. So then that means I can just weave it backwards and forwards quite quickly through. And then it's a case of gently wiggling it so you don't open it too much. She says with through gritted teeth, this isn't working. There we go. So yeah, don't do lots at the same time, and just weave it through, sort of maybe one or two holes at a time. Okay, until you are all of the way around. And for some reason mine isn't matching up. This is because what I did was I came in and out through the same hole on this round. You may have added more rows. If you've added more rows, hopefully yours will come out so that they are sitting nice and close. Then it's a case of pulling up your stem, these stems, to pull it closed. Okay, add a little bow, and we're talking little because it's meant to represent the leaf. Okay, just like that. And then of course your ends will be sewn in and that's the end of your pumpkin. Now if you've used stuffing, what you can do is take your ends, your unsewn ends, and bring them up through the top and then back down the middle a couple of times, hooking over this section here so that the whole pumpkin can squidge down a bit. But as I've got cotton in here, it's not very squidgy. Okay, so that is how to make the little basic pumpkin. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you do decide to make this little pumpkin, please send me an image so that I can show off your little pumpkins. If you've decided to upgrade it with a different weight yarns, different hooks, different amount of chaining at the beginning, different amount of rows, also send me those pictures. So that I can show off your work on a future Whips, Bits and Chat. Right, that is it for me for today. I will see you all really soon. Please remember, stay chilled, stay happy and keep crafting. Goodbye everybody. When recording today's video, my brain and my mouth were not working in unison. So the directions that are on screen are the appropriate ones. Sometimes my numbers were a little bit off. So always make sure that you're reading and following along with the caption down below. I've put it into short speak. Hopefully you can work out that BB is a back bump. Yep, there's some back bump work. And also, what was the other one? Say brain, not working, but it's written down below. Okay, so I will also put in the description box down below what each of the meanings are because I don't remember them now.